Hello and welcome to another episode of the All In Fantasy Football Podcast. With me, the actual FPL guru, Scott Williams, and can I say, multiple Manager of the Week winner. But we'll touch on that later. As always, I have my minions that claim they know lots about fantasy football, only to be let down every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Barry, how are you doing today, Barry? Where in the world is Barry Adam Stokes?
Well, I spent all weekend in Manchester trying to find Foden, because obviously, yeah, transferred him in. And obviously he was ill, so he was obviously tucked up in bed. So yeah, I'm actually at home now, recovering from my shocking display of fancy football. So yeah, put that in the back burners, and I'm ready to go for game week 3.
Yeah, and if I'll tell you what, if we were, a really good production company, this is where we would just insert me hammering you for not putting Son in last week. But we don't need to talk about that, mate. You've had plenty of days to dwell over your horrendous decision. Alex, you've been demoted. It's all gone a bit wrong for you, but you're actually doing all right. But how are you doing today, pal? How was your fish and chips?
The fish and chips were amazing. I am still full from my lunchtime fish and chips. And thank you for taking over doing the intro, Scott. I'm sure you really enjoyed that Manager of the Week. I think we've done this podcast. This is episode 110, and Baz has won 3 trophies. You've had about 5 Managers of the Week. I'm sure a Manager of the Month. I don't think I've won anything ever. And I still call myself the self-proclaimed FPL guru.
Self-proclaimed Spursy.
Yeah, well, I am Spursy apparently, and that means I'm going to start the season really well this time and then fade off into the distance. I did really enjoy that Paddy Power one where they said, "Don't worry about it, our season's done after like 12 weeks," and then we just go and cheer on everyone that plays against Arsenal. So that was a good clip. But I'm doing well, Scott. I'm doing well, and I think we should just go straight in. Everyone knows about the socials. Everyone knows about everything. We've talked about it enough. Let's talk about Manager of the Week, shall we? Let's have a look at your team with 106 points. Talk us through how you achieved such an incredible first 100-point week of the season.
Yeah, well, I looked at the fixtures, and the best fixture of the whole calendar is Man City at home to Ipswich. Really took onto a board what you said at the start of the season, that there's not going to be as many double game weeks. Looked on my previous years and gone, actually, even if it is a double game week, um, you know, I've performed quite poorly in the past in double game weeks anyway. So I think I had Dennis one double game week, and yeah, that didn't go well. So, but I'm taking into consideration, Haaland, he started the season strong. He was strong in pre-season. Man City looked good. Like you said, it's the game that Man City win 5-0. So you didn't. They won 4-1. It could have been, let's could have been 8-1. And it just really felt like a good opportunity. Yeah, I like to, keep my triple captain, but yeah, it was too good to turn down. So yeah, obviously majority of my points on my boy Haaland, triple captain, and other special mentions there. Smith Rowe backed him from the start of the season. He started really well. He looks like a player reborn a little bit at Fulham so far. Obviously didn't really get any returns against Man United, but looked bright, really good against Leicester. You're not getting 90 minutes out of him. He came off, he's played 63 and 68, but such a value asset at the minute. Jota, couple of returns, returns in both the games so far. Same with Salah, returning when you need him to. Gordon, I actually think that 10 points of Gordon was quite lucky. I actually thought he was lucky to stay on the pitch. He didn't look great for me. When they made a couple of subs, I was surprised he was one that stayed on. But took his goal at the back stick really, really well. And to be fair, once he got the goal, he looked like a much better player. And luckily, he got the free bonus as well. Saliba, it's Arsenal, strong. You need an Arsenal defensive asset in there, don't you? Cucurella just there for vibes. And Henderson. Lewis, I don't know how he's not scored. He's rattled the bar from about 4 yards out.
He's got to get a moan in though, Scott. He's still.
Yeah, I mean, he should have scored. He should have scored, and played it well. Really, would have only had if I played it perfectly with Dan Burn on for Cucurella, and then we give me one more point. But other than that, spot on. So yeah, really happy with the outcome this week.
Don't forget Henderson in goal, Isak up front, and then no one needs to talk about João Pedro's returns. Let's just forget that even ever happened. We've got two other managers of the week to shout out this week. I will start off by mentioning the man who I thought was manager of the week, but he isn't, because obviously Gusto got no points, just like your Cucurella, Scott. Chelsea defenders also not doing bits. Well done to Joshua. Joshua. I'm talking about like he's Guardiola. Joshua Onuoha. We've got 106 points for him. Raya with 10. Van der Ven with one of the greatest runs of all time. The man's a freight train, isn't he? Absolutely rapid. 9 points. Romero with 14. Gusto and Martinez 0 and 1. Palmer 17. We'll talk about him in a bit. Matoma and Bumo. Casemiro, what a pick. And we won't talk about De Bruyne, Baz. And then we've got Erling Haaland up front for 34 points. He played his free hit this week, so he didn't actually triple captain his free hit. One of the other people who did triple captain, though, was the other manager of the week, Dennis Bjork. Top of the league. Dennis, congratulations. Overall ranked 19k in the world. 106 points. Alisson, Rico Lewis, Trent Porro, Jota, Kamada, Saka, Gordon, Smith Rowe, Isak and Haaland. Strong team all the way across. And he would have had it. We started Kamada over João Pedro.
Appreciate that.
Otherwise, he would have been clear manager of the week. One other really quick shout out to Mark Anderson. Well done, 100 points, no chip played. Your team did really well. Luis Diaz, Smith Rowe, Salah, Pedro, Haaland and Doy, Bednarek. Fair enough. Trent, Saliba, Van der Ven, but I think you probably started Foden over Bednarek, I'd have thought. And obviously Foden didn't come on for any points this week, because as Barry said, he was poorly. So in terms of leagues, we've got pretty tight at the top. 1 point in it between Dennis Bjork and friend of the podcast, Sam Danby Bailey, 179, 178. 174 points for Charles Takaveda. Vada? I think Vader sounds cool, but Vada.
Right.
And that's the top three. And then we've got Scott Williams sat there in seventh. All looking quite good. Marco's up there again in ninth. Started well. Want to give a shout out as well to your mum, Judith, 12th place, 99 points this week, 158 overall, and I'm there in 15th. And if we go on to page 2, I think we can find Baz.
Might be down near bottom, eh?
It's not as far down, don't worry, as Jamie Varley still. Pod team with AI, 55 points this week, but I'm going to touch on the transfers that they're asking us to do. So I'll do that in a bit.
I just wanted to say really quickly, we did get worried for about 4 hours on the weekend because Barry just went missing. It's just like his last message was, "I'm deleting the app," and then silence for about 5 hours. So yeah, that was slightly worrying. We literally thought, he was hunting Philip down there.
Well, that's because I was driving around Manchester. That's why. Couldn't use your phone while driving.
I thought we were going to have to try to find another person for the podcast. Me and Scott are scared off another one. We've got rid of Cully and Tom already. Now we're going to get rid of Baz. So, let's quickly go through some of the games of the weekend, and we'll just focus on a couple of teams. We're going to focus mostly on Aston Villa and Chelsea today. We're going to have a quick look at Fulham and then also a little bit of premium juggling. So, but we'll just see any other key talking points from the weekend. Brighton against Man United was the first game of the weekend. Early kickoff on the Saturday. 2-1 a Brighton win with a Danny Welbeck goal, as predicted on the podcast. And a Matoma assist, João Pedro goal, and a Dinger assist were the ones that ended up winning the game. Amad Diallo scored for United with Mazraoui getting the assist there. Obviously, Bruno Fernandes assisted Alejandro Garnacho until Xerxes decided he was going to cancel the goal out by kneeing it in on the line. Key talking points from this one, lads. I think I'll just skip over it quite quickly. No one's buying any of these assets this week because they're playing Arsenal and Liverpool. But the fixtures for Brighton look really good after this game week. So I think we just need to keep a real close eye on what happens at the end of the transfer window. So before game week 4, there will be some international fixtures and also the transfer window will have closed. So this week, like normally, is quite a good week to bank a transfer, but I think it just doesn't really matter. You play it as your team needs it. But yeah, this week I think there's no point buying any of these guys because the week after that we'll see have Brighton signed anybody else. Is Danny Welbeck injured again? Whatever else? Because Minter, João Pedro, Welbeck, and Matoma might all be assets, and then just keep an eye on Man United because I'm sure Garnacho will have started again from this point. Anything to tell on that one, lads? Before we go to West Ham Palace.
No.
West Ham Palace then. So Scott, your boys seem to perform. It seemed quite an even game in the first half, and then in the second half they just seemed to sort of turn it on and kill it off. What did you anything to touch on for West Ham and also Crystal Palace?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, I've just saw the highlights on Match of the Day and whatnot, but yeah, they looked decent. Max Pillman, great player, isn't he? Really good player. Like his assist for Bowen's goal just to seal it at the end was so good. He was so composed, so strong with the ball, and that was a bit like a De Bruyne pass. Putting Bowen in there was really, really impressive. Souček, you know, he will score. He will score goals throughout the season. He's done it for a good number of years now. He's very consistent for West Ham, it must be said. And it's probably the best thing was lifting that hoarding.
God, yeah,
over the ball boy. Yeah, so that fair play to him for doing that. But yeah, really, really impressive win actually, because obviously I hammered Crystal Palace a bit at the start in our pre-podcast show. But then I thought they looked pretty good actually in the first game of the season. So I really had that down as a Palace win actually in my head. Because I thought like Eze would start the season looking good, and a few others in there as well. So that came as a bit of a surprise for me, that one. And yeah, I mean, I would be slightly concerned if I'm a Crystal Palace supporter at this moment in time. You know, that's a game you'd want to be winning, and Brentford away as well when you were looking quite solid. So no wins from that. They've got Chelsea away next. That's whatever. And then they do have a couple of home fixtures coming up after that. But it'll be interesting to see after the next 4 game weeks, Everton away, where they're sitting. But it could be slightly concerning, especially if Eze does get poached a little bit. And there's still the speculation around Gahey as well.
Feels interesting, doesn't it? Because if Eze is still at the club, you know, he's obviously a hold still. If you own him, you've been unlucky not to get any returns so far. That strike rate at the bar, unbelievable. Unlucky to have a goal ruled out in game week 1. Yeah, I think again, if you've got Henderson, you just hold on to him. Leicester at home fixture, Everton away fixtures, then 2 of the next 4. Then they're good fixtures to have. Munoz as well if you've got him. But yeah, they're a team to watch because I think that was a big game for them to lose.
What I'd say as well is last season you had Eze and Elise, brilliant players. Obviously Elise's gone, but they didn't always have Eze and Elise last season because the 2 very, very injury prone players. You take Eze out of that team, you're worried.
Yeah.
You're looking. Ismail Sarr is an all right player. He ain't Eze at all. So an interesting one. They need some more cover, I think, when it's that team.
West Ham's fixtures don't really pick up until maybe game week 6. They've got Brentford away and then Ipswich at home, 6 and 7. So if you want to take a punt on them for 2 weeks before maybe a wild card in 8, that makes sense. But they don't really have a good solid run of fixtures back to back until maybe game week 14 this season. So yeah, quite a long time to be able to watch them. So yeah, I think we just again keep an eye on those guys. Baz, Fulham and Leicester. Fulham was the team to focus on for us in a little bit more detail. What do you make of these? Smith Rowe getting on the score sheet, Adama assisting, Iwobi on the other side, all 3 of those guys behind Munoz getting involved?
Yeah, it's very interesting. They're quite attacking midfield. They've got, obviously, with Palina leaving, they've got really no holder. They're trying to put Lukic there, who's not really a holder like Palina. You've got Smith Rowe, Pereira as well, that obviously very attacking minded midfielders. Adam Churi, who's just a troll, but obviously he comes up with some goods now and then, and he's absolute rapid. And Iwobi, obviously, who I had in my differential draft, obviously scored and got me 9 points. But Munez is a bit of a worry there. He's had a few chances and he doesn't look like himself. And I said it pre-podcast. I think he's going to be a one season wonder. But obviously that might change around, especially with the the attacking minded midfielders he's got. So I'll probably eat my own words on that one. But defensively, they look good as well. Got some good attacking players as well with Robinson and Tete as well. He had pulled off a good save against Man United in the first game. Obviously got Castagna on the bench as well. So yeah, and obviously a good safe pair of hands with Leno in goal. So yeah, I think Fulham's going to be a surprise, and they've done really good in the transfer market as well. So yeah, for me, I think they're going to be a surprise package, and to be about eighth or ninth this season.
I think the shocking thing for Muniz, for Muniz is that he's had 9 shots, 9 in the box, 3 on target. None of them have classed as big chances. I don't really know how, but apparently that's obviously the way they've been classified. An XG of 0.68, but 9 shots in the box and no goals. He's provided 4 key passes, so he's been linking the play quite well. Yeah, he's somebody that I think a lot of people were looking at with Ipswich away, West Ham at home, Newcastle at home, and Forest away in the next 4 that people might have been looking at and being interested in. You maybe going Wood to Muniz or something like that if they had those players, but. I think, for example, you wouldn't upgrade João Pedro to him right now. I think you'd just probably hold João Pedro for the 2 fixtures after the Arsenal game. Because, Brighton's fixtures, the 2 after, with Ipswich at home and Forest at home. The 2 of the best fixtures you can have. So you better banking the transfer. I think sometimes the stats can be a little bit misleading. So, like you say, Lukic, I think he's got Andreas and Smith Rowe sort of playing either side of him. And you see Smith Rowe with expected assists of 0.03, but Pereira's been 0.53, 13 key passes for Andreas Pereira, whereas none for Smith Rowe. It just doesn't feel like what I've watched. Like, I feel like Smith Rowe's. I actually feel like Smith Rowe's a lot more dangerous. He has scored a goal, so obviously makes a difference. So I think the key question to ask you guys off the back of this is who's the key player that you would buy? And they're all good value.
I think it's an interesting one though. When you look at minutes played, Pereira's played about an hour more altogether. So actually, when you think about it like that, it does add up, actually, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I think you've got to look with the eye test and stats and stats and stats. But actually, when you look at the eye, Smith Rowe's won the over. I feel like as well when Smith Rowe gets the ball, the players know there's actually something going to happen. That's not taking everything away from Pereira. Quality player, great asset, a couple of seasons going fantasy as well. But yeah, I feel like that movement may be a little bit more when Smith Rowe's got the ball, and his finish was just so classy that he took. I think he's got a bit of one, but there's going to be part of the season where he's going to dip down, and we see it all the time. We had it with Odegaard and Saka. Odegaard came back in; he was the main man for a bit. There's going to be that occasion, and it probably does this season more than any. Gives you the flexibility to actually, go Smith Rowe to Pereira and not worry too much about throwing the transfer away when you've got up to 5.
I'd rather have Iwobi than Pereira, to be honest.
Than Pereira, but not Smith Rowe. You'd rather have Smith Rowe.
I'd have Smith Rowe would be my first pick, but
then Iwobi, then Pereira.
Yes, that's the other way I'd have it.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think Pereira's on the set pieces, so I that always kind of makes my ears prick up. Is he going to take some pens, or is he going to go on as a free kick? But yeah, I think Iwobi. When I've watched the games, like the highlights back, and obviously I watched United play Fulham, I just felt the same. I felt like Iwobi was. Let's not forget that if Pereira hadn't kicked the ball against the fridge, then Iwobi was in. For a one-on-one with Onana, and no one knows what's going to happen then. Onana could do like some sort of spider save, which would be unbelievable, scorpion kick or something, or it could just go through his floppy palms. You just don't know, but this is just the way it is. I wanted to focus just a tiny bit on their defense because they've signed Anderson at 4.5. We're sort of waiting to see. I don't know who's going to get dropped from that back line. I don't know if you know, Baz, but they're like it's going to be Tete, Robinson, Anderson, and Bassi. I don't know which of the other centre halves it's going to be, but anyway, the point being, I think between Anderson, Tete, and Robinson look like the best options in defence. If we're going to obviously maybe Leno, but they're all cheaper than Leno. expected goals conceded of a 3.1, and they've conceded 2 goals. So it just shows that Leno's been doing quite well there. But Baz, if you had to pick quickly one of the defenders or the goalkeeper, would you go for one of the cheaper guys who's a defender, or would you stick it on Leno?
Robinson.
I agree. Let's move on to the next fixture. Sorry, my drop down at the top of this drives me nuts. So it takes me ages to click across. City and Ipswich. Now, Man City obviously went behind in this game, and Ben Johnson got the assist as a 4 million option, and then which is important just to point out, to keep an eye on him. Ipswich's fixtures now, they're Fulham at home, Brighton away, Southampton away, Villa at home, West Ham away, Everton at home, Brentford away, and Leicester at home. So they've got pretty decent run between now and game week 10. A couple of people are on wild cards this week and might be on wild cards next week. But would you look at someone like Greaves or Johnson? Would you maybe look at getting one of those guys as a 5th defender, or are we absolutely kidding ourselves that Ipswich, we should have any of their defenders and there are much better options?
I think if you're going for like multiple premiums and getting quite a lot of value in your midfield and attack, then you're looking at 2 or maybe even potentially 1 4 million defender. And I've got Ben Johnson as my 4 million defender, and he was my 3rd sub. So obviously I was a bit gutted about that because Quansah didn't play and Foden didn't play. So I would have had 3 coming on, 3 points instead of 1 point. But that's just story of my game week, to be fair. But to be honest, I think, yeah, I'd probably have Johnson over them just because he's more attacking than Greaves. Greaves is a good, solid defender, but I think Ipswich are going to concede quite a lot of goals. But Johnson is going to get you more attacking returns because he did a great pass to Samodzic. So, yeah, so for me, if you're going wild carding, you wanted a bit of a punt, then obviously the guy that scored, Sammy Smodic, I'd probably look at getting him in, especially with them runner fixtures going in as well.
I think
Sorry.
I think for me, there's probably one better option at 4 million, and it's only because Matty Cash got injured. I think the Villa boy Nedzilovic, Jesus.
Yeah,
but
exactly. That's why I didn't mention him. So I'll let you do that.
Yeah, he came on for Matty Cash. Yet again, Matty Cash is injured. Villa's, I'm sure we'll touch on him, but Villa's run, really good run fixtures coming up. He'd be the person I would go for. Like you say, Ipswich not going to be keeping clean sheets, and Villa just got more of a chance. Don't really know how this lad plays, but he's always got the chance to assist as well.
It's quite an attacking right back as well, so you're potentially going to get some attacking returns from him as well. Whilst in pre-season.
Yeah, so I think for people that like you say, have got the Quansahs, and got the maybe a Barco, which I'm sure everyone has, in the teams, I think that's a good option. But I think if it wasn't for him and Matty Cash's injury, looking at what we've got there, I don't think Ben Johnson's the bad shout. He's done all right, in the past as well.
I think what I'd say about that Villa right back is that I know the way that Emery played last season with an attacking sort of left side, and he played Quansah at right back when he had 2 other fit centre halves. So I feel like if you're gonna go for that right back, that I can't pronounce his name either, maybe as a transfer in now, yeah, probably Mings isn't back till after the international break, and then you never know, he might have a little bit of time to get back up to match fitness and probably might not feature as much and this, that, and the other. And I don't know how he feels about Diego Carlos, to be honest. So it's the sort of player where I think transferring him in now is totally fine. And with the Villa's run of fixtures is good. If you're on a wild card, I don't feel confident holding him until game week 18, game week 19, game week 20. I just feel like he's going to probably be a problem for you just from FPL experience, knowing how Emery sets his team up, and obviously if Cash comes back in or whatever else, it just feels like an easy drop. I think transferring him in's fine, but from a wildcard perspective, I would stay away from him. And also, you're not unhappy having 3 Villa assets, are you? That are probably a bit better than that, considering how good Villa potentially are. City, very briefly, De Bruyne was playing quarterback, wasn't he? Pinging the ball around, doing unbelievable things. Again, we don't need to talk about these guys any more than obviously Haaland getting a hat trick, which is not surprising. Let's just wait and see what happens with Pep Roulette when the Champions League kicks in, shall we?
Yeah, that
After-
Savinho looked good as well, didn't he? He looked like another Doku.
Yeah, well, don't talk to me about Doku. He's wasted a space in my fantasy team for 2 weeks. That was my punt, but never mind. Didn't pay off, but there you go. At least I think he's got like 100 and something minutes. He's just not done anything. Southampton, Forest. Southampton have like the most. I think I I heard one of my favourite. All bark no bite. Southampton pass. Can't score.
Could have told you that with Russell Martin in charge. keeps it when they 1-0 down, he'll keep it in defence. Don't understand his tactics in that. Maybe draw them out and play from there, but he still keeps it round there. Swansea got caught so many times with that, and it's 126 passes to the next shot or something like that. It was on Match of the Day. That's just obscene compared to Forest that had 15 or something like that.
I mean, they had 838 touches and 656 passes, but
Well done.
it didn't really do anything with them. I mean, they had one shot on target and 65% possession. I mean, it's just I don't know. I mean, we'll wait and see, but it reeks to me as another company. And I said this all the beginning of last season. Change your style. Stop being so stubborn. Everyone always goes, "Oh, you kept your style. You're so amazing. What great balls you've got." No, you're an idiot. And you've got yourself relegated. So don't do it. Like, I see it all the time.
Well, I'll tell you now, Russell Martin won't change it.
No, I think that's a big problem for Southampton. Teams keep an eye on again. I mean, obviously, no one's buying any of these guys. Brentford away, Man United at home. They do have Ipswich at home in game week 5, which is massive. I do feel like this was a big game for them to lose, and Brentford away is a big game for them to play again. But this sort of Forest fixture, and then game week 5 is going to be massive for them against Ipswich. It's a 6-pointer already. And Forest think nice to see Gibbs White getting a goal. Just keep an eye on their attackers, really. Again, not going to buy them. Wolves at home next, so it could be a good game, but Liverpool away after. They don't really have a good run of 3 fixtures together till game week 8. So, but keep an eye on those guys. Anything to add on those teams, lad? Before we unfortunately talk about Spurs, Baz.
Yeah.
No?
Can we move on from Spurs as well?
We'll just do it quickly. The big question this week, obviously, Spurs have got Newcastle away and Arsenal at home, followed by Brentford at home and then Man United away. So they've got 4 fixtures that are not incredible. Not incredible. So, Scott, would you sell Son this week?
I would potentially sell Son this week. Yeah, that makes sense. You know, they're not playing one of the worst teams at home in the league. So this is maybe the week to sell, yeah. But you'll get there, Baz. We'll get there. It takes a bit of time, fantasy football.
I'll learn from the guru. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, the new guru. I just
So,
again.
I was just going to say, so Baz spent all Saturday looking for Phil Foden, and he spent all Sunday trying to hunt down Jordan Pickford, I think.
No, it was Martinez pushing into his own goal. I think. No, that was Saturday night, wasn't it? That was.
There you are, mate. I think we're looking at Spurs and just keeping an eye on their team for the next 4 weeks. I can't imagine many people are going to be buying Spurs assets, but they might be selling them or keeping hold of them. Everton, I just worry for. I think Bournemouth at home this week is huge, like as a game for them. They need to be getting at least a point out of that to get some traction.
And I can't believe that Arsenal, Chelsea, and a few other teams are linked with Calvert-Lewin.
Oh, it's backup striker, isn't it? He's never going to them. They're not going to buy it. He'll fail a medical, probably, the poor guy. I feel a bit sorry for him because remember when he was class for like 3 weeks, and do you know what the biggest problem was? Scott triple captained him about 2 years ago and absolutely killed him.
That's the one. That's what triple captain. Yeah, the bloody snake. Yeah,
he killed you. I really do worry for Everton at the start of this season. But on Clash of the Correspondents, I listened to Correspondence Week for the Everton guy who was on. And he said straightforward and openly, he went, don't back us at the beginning of the season. The start of this season, without Branthwaite, with a couple of other notable absentees, we're going to be a disaster zone. So he said, just don't even think about us until game week 7 or 8. He said,
You know, but
right, buddy.
I still don't understand it. They brought in Joey O'Brien. I think it's Joey O'Brien, from Leon. It was absolute quality for Leon. And they're not playing him. And they started a 19-year-old. I just don't get it, but I'm not a Premier League manager like that.
Saturday's a massive game in it at home to Bournemouth.
Huge. So Villa Arsenal. So we're gonna have a good chat about Villa now. And this game we saw Arsenal really grind out a result like a proper team going for a title. Really, I think, didn't we? Let's be honest. Away at Villa to beat them 2-0. That's one of the first times I've ever watched Arsenal. I know it sounds a little bit. They lost out on the title by like 2 points last year or whatever it was. So this is a bit of a ridiculous statement, but it's the first time I've ever really watched Arsenal and gone, crap, I think they can win the league. Like they've ground out a result there. I just never thought they were going to do it last year. I just never even felt it at any point, it seemed. But sort of away at Villa Park after losing to them twice last year, it was class. Anything about the game before we talk about Villa? You both watch it? Do you watch it, Scott?
Yeah. Watched the game. Yeah. Really good. I thought Villa played. Like you say with Arsenal, and I heard it on 5 Live this morning, and it was a great shout. When the Arsenal second goal in, it's like when City score a second goal against you, it seems to just kill everything.
Yeah.
And they've clearly got that aura now about them, which obviously they've taken a lot of seasons to grind it up. And like you say, away win at Villa 2-0. Wow, fair play. And this is pre-Champions League Villa. This is Villa when in a few weeks' time when they're into the weeks of the Champions League and getting used to Wednesdays and Sundays. That's when you can really think actually how good is this Villa team. But this is a fresh Villa team, so that was some performance. But I know we're going to touch on Villa. It could have been very different.
Yeah, I'm going to say because Watkins wasn't fresh.
He don't look on it.
No, he should obviously. Shearer mentioned that he had a little stumble before his shot, but then he scuffed it wide, and the header as well. Great save by Raya, but he shouldn't have the chance to save it. So, and Rodgers was class for the first 65 minutes, and then after that it was just Arsenal. Since Trossard scored, I think they just went and legs went and went right. Arsenal just steamrolled him.
It's interesting because of watching Villa. I mean, so to touch on this now, the next fixtures are Leicester away, Everton at home, Wolves at home, Ipswich away, Man United at home, Fulham away, and Bournemouth at home. I mean, that's a very good run of fixtures for Villa now. I mean, you could argue that you never know what you're going to get with Man U at home, but other than that, they're at home to them. So, anything can happen. But we've yet to see, again, there's sort of been all bark, no bite yet. And you said that to me, Baz, interestingly about Rodgers. And he's a player for me right now that I'm thinking about bringing in this week for Garnacho and then bringing in Palmer for Son. Do you think Rodgers at 5 mil with, I mean, at the moment he's had 5 shots, 1 on target, 2 of them in the box. He's done 4 key passes, which is only second to Tielemans, I think, in the game. But he still only has got 4 points. Do you think he's being over? I know you said look good. Do you think he's being overhyped as an FPL asset, or do you think it's inevitable? Returns are coming.
It's a bit of both because obviously his price at 5 million, and you want all these you want all these like attacking premium players in your team, and if you've got a 5 million player that starts and he's attacking, because usually around that bracket, 5 and 4.5 million, the more defensive minded players. So for me, Rodgers at 5 million is great for the price. But also, every time you watch the game, everything good comes from him. You think that would be Bailey, but everything comes from Rodgers. Like Rodgers nearly set up Watkins until he scuffed it, and he obviously had a few good attempts in the first game as well. So for me, that's why obviously I had him from the start anyway, Rodgers. But obviously that was because he's pre-season and he's kept that form. It's just obviously he hasn't had the return yet, and I think that is going to come. So yeah.
So, Scott, your thoughts on Watkins more? So, I think one of the big debates is right now. So for me, pre-season, I was thinking, right, this is the game week. I'm going Isak to Watkins, and then I'm going to try and free up some money from elsewhere, which is probably going to be Garnacho to Rodgers, and then I was potentially going to go Son to Palmer. So I was banking a transfer, taking a -4, obviously, Baz, and then doing those 3 substitutions, those 2 transfers this week. I'm probably not taking the -4, and I'm just going to keep Isak at the moment. What do you think? I'm being naive. 0.9 goal involved, potential XGI. He seems to be in the right places. Is it just inevitable that we're going to get Watkins return soon, or what do you think?
He don't. Something seems missing behind the eyes. Like I don't know. Like it just doesn't seem like on this planet right now. You think coming into this season, he had an unbelievable amount of confidence, scoring one of the biggest goals I'll ever score in his life in the summer. Like, and he's just not hit the ground running at all. He looks absolutely shattered. I don't know how much time he's had off. I know Man City players. Pep gives them the normal amount of time off, so that's why some players are start the season a bit slower. But he's not looked on it at all. And like you say, in a different world, we'd be looking at this fixture and going, yeah, Isaac out and getting Watkins in. But I don't think it's worth it. Like, don't get me wrong, Isaac's does not look great. Neither of Newcastle so far this season. But at the end of the day, he plays every minute of every game. Spurs at home, you're probably going to get chances there. Wolves away, bloody hell, you're probably going to get chances against them at the minute. So you want to probably hold them for a couple of games. I think that Fulham away game's tricky. City is City. So yeah, but for me at the minute, I wouldn't be wasting one on Ollie Watkins. Look, there's a chance, probably not going to happen, but there's a chance that he just throws Duran in and gives him a game off next game and just says, "Look, have a little rest."
It was the next question I was going to ask you. Do you think he potentially just doesn't start this week? Against Leicester, in particular, when you're looking at that as a type of fixture, and then it's an international break. I mean, I'd have thought he gets called up for England, but maybe he doesn't start him and he pulls him out with an injury. I don't, it's one of those sorts of moments, isn't it? He's such a key player with the Champions League coming up. I don't know. I think when in FPL you're making these transfers. They're so key and they're so important to get that transfer right. When you have a feeling about a player and you just think, I just don't think this is worth, especially a -4. I just don't really think it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like I should be jumping on him. And then he'll score actually against Leicester, won't he?
But then it's a weird one. It's like Baz says, like he should have scored 2 goals last game. He's in the positions, so it's not like he's just not there or thereabouts. I'll be honest, he didn't look good at all against West Ham the first game of the season. He was almost not on the pitch. I think he thought, if he had a shot. So, but he looked a lot better against Arsenal. So it is a close one still, just because Isaac started the season so far, and you've got 9 million wrapped up or whatever it is in Isaac as well. So it is a tough one. There's no one else really that you probably be looking at this moment in time. But
No,
it's what I might do. I think in previous seasons, no, at this moment in time, because you get 2 free transfers. But in this one where you can bank up to 5, if you've not made one so far, you've got what would you have, 3 at this moment if you've not made a transfer?
Just 2 at this point into this week.
Just 2 at this moment. So that's fine. So you could potentially do that, and you still got your 1 free transfer. I don't know. Maybe.
The big thing for me is I think I'll probably hold on to Isak and just sort of and just for this week and see how Watkins is, because then they do have Everton at home in game week 4, and at that point, because I might it depends how he's looked in the match against Leicester, and then I might have to jump on him. If he still doesn't look that great, I might stay away from him and then maybe wait till game week 6 and just jump onto Havertz.
But I think one thing to have a quick look on is Newcastle play tonight or tomorrow in the Carling Cup. Carling Cup.
I did that last season. Carabao. Forest away.
So yeah, a few things to consider. Obviously, number one for me, how are Newcastle going to play? I think they're playing a Premier League team.
Forest away. And Tonali's in the squad.
Yeah, there you go, Forest away. That's going to be a really good indicator, actually, of are they starting to play a bit better because they've been poor. And just just keep an eye on it. If it's on TV, keep an eye on it. See how Isaac does, how he looks, because that could be an indicator as well. If he looks not at it, if Newcastle look at not at it, yeah, maybe roll a dice. Villa, of course, in Champions League, so don't play this round as well. So we'll have a few more days to rest.
If you're wild carding, definitely be getting Watkins in, 100%.
Fair enough. So if you wild card now, would you have Haaland?
Yeah.
But would you have Salah?
I think you could squeeze him in because it's only a 0.5 more than to get Watkins than from Isaac. So,
but would you have Palmer? And this is what I'm getting to. This is the point I'm getting to.
I think you could squeeze him in as well because I had Son, Salah, and Haaland, didn't I, and Isaac. So you're only losing 1 million there, and you just downgrade one of your defenders to a 4 million and pick, and then have 2 5 million or a 4.5. So it can be done, but obviously you're losing a lot of your team just to shoehorn them premiums in. But we'll touch upon that when we talk about premiums later on. So yeah.
The point I'm making is that though, is that it's just hard because and what I love about this season because that, and I know you've not had the best start over the last 2 weeks, but with the premium juggle, it can turn so quickly because not everyone can have those assets that are gonna make the difference. And we'll come to Chelsea in a minute for a couple of these people, but it's interesting. I'm a fan of it. Even though I finally had a good start to the season after the last 2 years, and then could get turned around in an instant. Yes, so Villa Arsenal. Yes, as well as Villa defenders, lads. That's one thing I was going to ask you. Quick fire. Pick one defender. Who would you go with if you had to buy one right now? I think they're all 4.5. Obviously, you've got the 4 mil as well. 4 mil right back. I can't pronounce his name. Consa, Torres, or Luca Digne. He's been starting every week. Who would you go for, Baz?
Consa, because I'm worried about Lucas Digne. Might get dropped.
Scotty?
None of them really excite me. Don't know, Digne.
Yeah, Digne is the troll. If you're going to wildcard soon, then you can get rid of him quickly. But if you're wildcarding, I like Conser as a wildcard. I think he's just going to stay in the team. He's only right-sided centre back. Power and Mings are both left-footed. It's just one of them. I think man of the match, Anthony Gordon. I don't think so somehow. Considering Bournemouth probably should have won this game because I don't understand how that's a conclusive handball. Anyway, whatever. Somehow Newcastle have got 4 points on these first 2 matches. I know we've just talked about them. But yeah, the Bournemouth Newcastle team. Quickly on Bournemouth, that's all I wanted to say is obviously Everton away this week. So if you're looking at 1 week punts before a wild card into game week 4, I think Semenyo looked great. Really good.
He linked up really well with the new striker and Evan Nielsen. So yeah, that's something to watch them two combined as well. So that was quite nice to watch them play.
Yeah, I think as well this game week, Semenyo is a good draft player for this week. Just as a one week punt if you needed to. They've got Chelsea and Liverpool the next 2, but then they're going to Southampton and Leicester, so you could sit him on your bench if you wanted to. But yeah, just from more of a draft perspective, I think Semenyo is going to be a player that's overlooked quite heavily. So be a good player to pick up on. Let's talk about the other team we're going to focus on, and it's not Wolves. So let's focus on Chelsea. Before we have we will talk about Wolves very, very briefly. Madueke, lads, 90 minutes played, 3 goals scored, 20 points got. What do we do? Is he even going to play next week?
And yeah, I've shot myself in the foot again. I've done an early transfer and I've got him in. So Garnacho's out, so he's going to perform really well. So everyone jump on Garnacho, even against Liverpool. And Madueke probably be ill, so he won't play. So I got him at 6.4, and he went up to 6.5 the day after. So that was just a bit of price budgeting from me since I've got Quanta still at 4.4. That's probably going to go down to 4.3 by the weekend. So. Yeah,
I'll have a look at those. But is he going to play? Do you think that's their team?
You can't drop him after he scored an hat-trick, can you? You can't. But what do we know? I think Ted Bowley picks the team anyway. He just goes in and goes, right, let's get the wingers in a hat and we'll just pick them out and go, all right, Neto's playing today. All right. Oh, who's next? Oh, Palmer's playing on the wing and we'll play Enzo in number 10.
I think
Yeah, it's definitely gonna play. But
they've got the midweek
they're
of
not
their Europa League, haven't they, to watch? You're talking
yeah,
about midweek fixtures.
yeah. I was going to say they've got the second qualifying, aren't they? And the 2-0.
They're playing napkin, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you'd expect Madueke potentially to get rested that game. Got that much of a squad to come in, but yeah, Madueke at 6.5. Someone had them as the differential. I think that was. Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't start the season. Just how he ended last season. He ended last season so well, and I think all three of his goals were just laid on by Palmer. Like it was just like copy paste, copy paste. They're all the same goal. But he took them all really, really well. So he would be the one. I think it's quite funny, isn't it? Like if you're looking at Chelsea, Palmer obviously going to play. What, very expensive. Madueke, great at 6.5, and then you're like and Aaron, who's actually going to play. Jackson's pretty solid, isn't he? He's pretty nailed on. That he seems to start up front. 7.5.
Don't know yet because apparently they're putting a late bid in for Ivan Toney, Chelsea.
Yeah, well, of course, yeah. But so,
of course they need another striker. So
yeah, but it'd be the one I was looking at. But yeah, Madueke at 6.5. Not bad, is it?
No, it's a good price. Palmer at 10.5 is again a price that everyone's got to be paying close attention to. Yeah, I agree with Jackson. I'd look at some stats for the back end of last season as well, and these are the last 8 game weeks, and this is just points scored, and Palmer obviously top, but with 11 appearances each, Madueke have set some substitute appearances, but Jackson did outscore Madueke in terms of points. So 55 to 52, but points per 90, Madueke was better. I just feel like he's got to play, innit? Surely he's got to play.
You can't drop someone who scored an hat-trick, as I mentioned. It's suicidal.
Chelsea's
his confidence will be through the roof, and you're going to drop him. God,
yeah.
He'll be in the bomb squad next week.
There's only one manager in the world that can do that, and he's manager Man City. No one else has got the minerals to do that.
Just João Felix, of course, has come in as well, and Palmer can play on the right, he can play on the taste. Just all the whole thing frightens me. But Chelsea's next fixtures: Palace at home, Bournemouth away, West Ham away, Brighton at home, Forest at home, all the way to game week 7, which is game week 8 is when the wildcard time is. It's ideal, isn't it? A couple of Chelsea assets maybe. I'm assuming no one's touching their defence still, obviously, other than Mr. Cucurella owner at the bottom of the screen.
Well, I've got a defender as well. So
have you got Gusto?
No, I've got Colville.
Colwell.
Colville.
Colville.
That's where it works. Colville.
Levi Colwell. Yes. So, no one's buying any of their defenders. Let's just say that, shall we? In terms of attacking options, obviously Palmer everyone would want if they could have. I think the key question I want to ask you both is, if the difference is -4 to get Palmer for that run of fixtures, or Madueke, who would you go for in your team for that run of fixtures, 3 to 7? Madueke Palmer -4.
You take the -4 on Palmer. He's a better player. He's more consistent. He takes penalties, and he's guaranteed to play every game.
Baz?
I just hate taking minuses, so I'll go Madueke.
Yeah, I'm -4 on Palmer, obviously. Shock. That'd be where I'd sit on that one. Wolves. I just don't know what to make of this team, to be honest. Cunha scored, Ignore assist, Strand scored, so Strand Larson. So I mean, the 2 attackers assisted. Ignore looked attacking again. But I mean, their fixtures are Forest away this week, which is a pretty important game for them. Before they have Newcastle at home, Villa away, and Liverpool at home. Brentford away, City at home, Brighton away.
See, Wolves look really good going forward. Well, I won't say really good. They look okay / good going forward. but defensively they're shocking. They're all over the place. Well, what do you expect when Kilman goes? They don't start Dawson. You've got Totti and Mosquera at centre halves, two young defenders.
Yeah.
Big issues, big issues. Let's not forget how bad they finished last season as well. And then they rewarded O'Neill with a 3-year contract.
Yeah, weird that. Haven't they won one in their last 14? That's a stat I think I heard.
Yeah. I think O'Neill is a very overrated manager. If I'm honest, he did well when he came into very little time last year. Don't get me wrong, but he doesn't impress me. I know you're an O'Neill fan, but he doesn't impress me.
I mean, I'm not an O'Neill fan, but I think he did really well last year. I think he did really well at Bournemouth and was really unlucky to get fired. I think that was a joke, but then they've gone to Iraola, and after a dodgy start to last season, he's done really well, hasn't he? So, like, what can you say? They've made the right move, haven't they? Again, I feel like the same thing's going to happen to him here. I feel like O'Neill's going to get fired when the next good thing comes along. It's just feels like a matter of time. But also at the same time, he is dealing with the fact that they have sold. Well, they're selling everybody that they get that's any good. For decent amounts of money, whether they sold Collins and Kilman, who was their old centre-back pairing, so he doesn't have them anymore. And obviously, Ruben Neves is gone. Neto's gone.
That was the reason why Lopetegui went. He was like, I want money to spend because I'll spend it wisely like West Ham have done. But they says, well, we've got no money and you have to sell all your assets near enough. And that's what's happening. The link with Ramsdale in goal. They don't need a keeper. They need a centre-half.
Yeah.
So
Ramsdale has to go to Southampton or they're in so much trouble.
Yes.
Sorry, Alex McCarthy and Bazuna. But
Ramsdale can't play with his feet that well.
He's better than McCarthy, though.
Well, yeah, I think most people are better than McCarthy.
I think you could literally put me in goal. I think I'd do a better job passing out from the back than McCarthy. Liverpool, obviously no one's going to buy them with Man U away being the next game. Toughest fixture on the calendar. So Diaz, Jota, Salah, Diaz. Seems like the nail front three to me, doesn't it?
Yeah. Chiesa coming in as well.
Is he coming?
Well, he's linked, isn't it? 10, between 10 and 15 million for him, for 26-year-olds. I thought, good business if you get him.
That's a bargain for Chiesa, that is.
It is. And I think, I don't know, Liverpool just don't need to panic, I think, at the end of the day. I still worry about their central midfield. I don't think it's strong enough across the whole of the season. People keep banging on about Harvey Elliott and Curtis Jones being great backups. And we'll wait and see, I think. We'll see how much Klopp got out of them, shall we? But yeah, good start to the season. 2-2-0, eh? So well done to everyone who had Salah. And let's all be honest, this week, if you want him, you can get him. He has a good record against Man United. But Forest at home game week 4, Bournemouth at home game week 5, and Wolves away game week 6.
Yep.
How the heck are we going to fit in all of these premiums? And that takes us on to talking about premiums. So far this season, when this goes down, I can have a look at the teams that have, that's my thing. These are the premium midfielders we've had so far this season. And let's ignore Phil Foden at the bottom with 1 point because he's only played 45 minutes and obviously he's poorly. The rest of them, they seem to all be delivering results. And with a really good fixture runs coming up for Palmer and Salah, Saka obviously has some good fixtures coming up in game week 6 onwards. Son has had his run, but then has another good run coming up in 7 onwards again. How do we juggle these? Should we be spending our transfers on these guys and hopping on and off, or should we just picking one of them and just riding it out? What do you think, Scott?
It's tricky because usually at the start of the season you got 1 or 2 performing and a couple, slow starts to the season, and you think actually that's quite an easy transfer. But like you say, everyone's performing, and it's not just like they're getting like a scrappy goal here and there. Everyone's looked really good. Like when I've watched Saka in a couple of games, looked brilliant, and I'm like, how is he not in my fantasy team? And then I look at Man City and Kevin De Bruyne's just pulling the strings and he's just looking amazing. Like you say, in that quarterback role, Son looked brilliant in the highlights against Everton. Like just that electric pace, that just clinicalness about him. And Salah, like he just looks on it again this season. He looks brilliant. Like he's always confident that he's going to return. He's getting the ball. It seems like he's getting the ball a bit more. I know we said last season he seems like quite isolated out there, but
Yeah,
seems to be getting seems to be getting the ball much more now, and yeah, just constantly delivering. Yeah, it's just one of these, isn't it? I think you've got to look at fantasy football this season, and we've said it a few times, but like, good. Like, teams are going to be quite a little bit different, and it is good. And you're going to go through phases where you're gonna have a week where you're like 30, 35 points behind because crap, you had Salah who got 2 points and Palmer got a hat trick, and but then you're gonna have the reverse. So I think looking at fixture runs is going to be key this season. I know it is pretty important anyway, but like having these key assets in 4 big fixture runs, because again, if you look at these players here, like you know, Palmer was dirt cheap last year, so everyone had him. That was easy. De Bruyne wasn't in. Well, was injured, wasn't playing, so no one really had him. Spurs were a bit up and down. So and you'd have potentially Salah in there, but we didn't all have Salah. So last season was a bit more template, I guess. So for me, I'll be looking at my big assets. So my big assets being Haaland, being Salah, and I'm not dropping Haaland probably all season unless things happen. He'll be staying in there. There's no Ronaldo, Lukaku or previous seasons, which could be sort of contesting that for me at the minute. But I think you've also got to be willing to look at the fixtures and go, Salah's done all right. He's got a couple of assists that game. He's got 1 goal, but that person did well, and that person's got a really good fixture. Just being a bit brave and sort of rotating it around. That's my outlook.
Do we think then, if you're on a wild card like right now, just taking into account what Scott said, players like Rodgers, Smith Rowe, João Pedro, your 4 million assets become ridiculously valuable, and we should be looking to stack our teams with 4 premiums if we can do, and just go cheap along the rest. So David Raya being your goalkeeper with a 4 million keeper who doesn't play, for an example. So you've got a piece of Arsenal's defence without spending 6 million on Saliba, Gabriel White. Going about it that way. Do you think that's probably the way that you're going to go, or are you more of a spread the funds and rotate that couple of premiums?
Well, I'm quite gun ho. I'd definitely, I might even actually do it. How shocking my team's been. But when I usually do a wild card early doors, it never turns good, and I always do a -24 after. So with that, it will be, if you can get 4, it'd be great. But my take would be Haaland and Salah is your mainstays, and then rotate the others. I rotated wrong. I should have kept Son. And then, because I wanted a bit of that Ipswich action from City, got the wrong one. I picked Foden. If I picked De Bruyne, it could have been a different story for myself. If I kept Son, it'd been even better. And I would have had 2 transfers going into this one. But that's how I'm going to play, is keep the 2 premiums that I've got on Salah and Haaland, unless they get injured. I don't think African Cup of Nations is on either, and I don't think Salah's going. So that means he's a mainstay for me. So it'll be juggling around that and looking at the fixtures. So if I had money in the bank and I still had Son, I'd probably be going Son to Palmer right now. But I haven't. I've obviously got Foden, who's actually dropped in value to 0.4. So that's why I went Garnacho to Madueke. But as you mentioned, if you can and you feel comfortable having 4 premiums, then why not? Because at the end of the day, look at it. If these keep returning as they're doing at this rate, if you've got 4 of them, then you're not going to go, oh, I wish I had Palmer, because you've already got it, because you've got 4. Because you'll probably have Palmer, Salah, Haaland, and someone else.
Yeah, Saka-ish probably, something like that.
Saka or De Bruyne, Son's fixtures aren't great, so probably might go De Bruyne because he's cheaper than them. So yeah, it's great to have this much choice of premiums, because usually, as Scott mentioned, for forwards it's just Haaland. That's it. We used to have Kane in the back a couple of years ago. So, but now it's just Haaland, and then what's your other premium?
Mm-hmm.
So we can potentially get through because, as we mentioned, there's quite a few budget midfielders in there that are playing, like Rogers, Smith Rowe. So yes, and João Pedro up front as well. That's performing, even though he's in a 10, he's still looking good, and he probably will be on penalties if Brighton have it. So yeah, the only problem is defense wise, the 4.5 defenders there that are available don't really score a lot of, and no one's really getting a lot of attacking returns for the defenders. It's more clean sheets, so the top performers, if you get defenders up, you'll probably see the Arsenals and and Liverpool because they've kept 2 clean sheets. So.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
You're totally right. If you go top performers in terms of defenders, it's all about clean sheets. I mean, basically, there's a couple of obviously random ones in here from people that have scored big points. So Romero, obviously got an attacking return, Porro, and then Trent up there, Virgil, Kilman with an assist, White, Saliba, Robertson, Gabriel, and Mazraoui. I mean, shock. It's just the big teams, isn't it? But they're not massive points differences with 12s. That's why I think Briar would be in goal. It's just, I like it. It's different. It's interesting. It's, I think we'll see some different team structures out there. Yeah, I think if it was me right now in a wild card, I'd be chucking all my eggs into the premiums basket because it's also easier to get off that than it is to get on it.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm wildcarded into game week 4, for an example, I'm looking at it and going, and I like the team coverage as well. I probably wouldn't go Foden or KDB. You probably then have your Haaland, your Palmer, your Saka, your Salah, and you're covering it all off. But yeah, I think it'll end up being a threemium. Threemium will generally become the template. That'd be my guess rather than 4 premiums. I think it'd be really difficult to get them all in your team. I think we'll probably end up having a threemium template as we go throughout.
I can always draft up a quad premium if you want and share it on the socials.
You'll enjoy that as well.
So it'll probably make me a wild card, to be honest.
Probably will, mate. But if you aren't going to wild card, I would hold off till game week 4. Transfer window shuts, international breaks, injuries. That's my take on that one. But yeah, anyway, there's, like I say, Lego Mane has done a really good graphic. Take a screen grab of this right now if you want, when you're looking at all the rotation premiums for captain matrices. And yeah, I think it's just a really good one to do. Right, let's touch on our differential draft teams, and we got the results from last week as Scott discussed. He had a pretty good week. Diaz, Welbeck, Doku, Lewis not doing so well. Vicario with a clean sheet. So good week for you, Scott, with 33 points, and Baz and I tied on 26 points each. Sells Diaz, De Bruyne, Kovacic, and Cunha, and Leno, Akanji, Bernardo, Iwobi, and Jackson. We've got this week, and I'll let you go to talk through your team first, Scott, as the winner of last week. We did the draw beforehand, and yeah, talk us through your selection.
Also, Chris Bowen won. And I know obviously he didn't do it the right way because he picked obviously some of our players, but he does get an honourable mention because he did get 33. He had Vicario, Lewis, Doku. No, that's Scott. Sorry. He had Vicario, Walker, Peters, Son, Madison, and Cunha, and he finished with 36. So yeah, well done to Chris, and see if you can do it again.
Yeah, but also, Chris, if you want to do it properly, maybe next week just give yourself like a 4-second time limit because it's a lot harder.
That's what we did. Yeah, it's great fun doing that draft stuff. Anyway, Scott, you your team.
Yeah.
Briefly.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the middle one.
Yeah. So
they can't remember it.
Sells in goal. It is what it is. It's keeper, and they want to make the same error as last time. Lots of fair play to Flores. They've actually looked all right this season. But that could be whatever. And then a couple of slight gambles. One much bigger gamble than the other. Timber obviously started last game. Looks really good actually. Under 1%. So that was quite a good one for me to get in. Brighton. Obviously, Brighton have started the season quite well, but Arsenal's at home. There is a bit of a rotation risk there, though, with the options they've got. They've obviously got Calafiore, Zinchenko, etc. And then the big one is Trossard. Now, I am backing Trossard to start next game ahead of Martinelli. He looked really good when he come on. He looked decent as well the first game. It's against his former club. I can see him starting that game and returning. Madueke. Need I say more? And Jackson, mentioned him earlier, decent under 5% striker, Palace looking poor. I was quite happy with that, since though I went last, and then I don't usually go last. So it was quite hard, but there we go. I prepared for a change.
I really like your team. I mean, like you said, there's a couple of rotation risks in there with Timber and Trossard, but if they start, I think you've got the highest ceiling. You've got the people's team there in terms of the ceiling. I think I've got Neto playing Everton away, who can't score any goals, so hopefully that's going to pay off there. Murillo at home again. I've done the same as you, Scott, with the Sells shout. I think they look all right defensively, so they stand a chance of keeping a clean sheet. He's under 1% as well at 0.6. I'm backing Gibbs White to score against Wolves again. They're playing Wolves at home, so I think at 4.7%. He returned last week. Everything goes through him, set pieces, penalty. Some of the penalties.
Former club as well.
Yeah, former club. Go show them what they're missing. Went for Bailey at 3.2% against Leicester away. I think he's pretty nailed on to start, and I think they get chances against that Leicester team. I like the look of Villa. And then I went for Visser as my first shout. Southampton at home, 5.6%. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the game. So 5.6%. I think it was a good shout. Barry, your choices?
I've kept the same keeper, even though he didn't keep me a clean sheet. But with Leno, you're going to get save points from him. But playing Ipswich away, I think he's going to probably at least get 4+ saves in that game. Hopefully, a clean sheet for my differential draft. Go for Collins for Brentford, playing Southampton at home, 0.7% owned. It looked an aerial threat in the box. Southampton just keep the ball in defence, so potential clean sheet there because they just can't score as we talked upon. And Bruno, because everything good comes through him. It's quite an obvious pick at 5%.
Yeah,
I had a bit of a nosebleed because he was actually quite high percentage for me on that one. Semenyo, as we touched upon earlier in the pod, everything good comes through him again, like I mentioned with Bumo. And obviously I've gone for his linked up partner with Evan Nielsen at 0.2. I think he's going to be a decent signing for Bournemouth and a straight in from where Slanky left the void. So yeah.
Do you know what? Which area he's better than Slanky in?
What's that?
He has honestly got one of the most beautiful smiles I've ever seen on a football pitch. Honestly, it melts my heart. He just seems happy to be there, and yeah, lovely man. I'm sure. Hopefully, no allegations come out or anything. But yeah, he seems great.
Well, let's hope not. I think all of our teams look pretty even this week. I think I've probably got the worst. I think when I've looked back at it afterwards, I really like Barry's midfield of Mbeumo and Semenya. I think your striker at Jackson Scott's probably up there. I mean, this is obviously a good shout as well. It's probably where I'm most happy. And then yeah, Baz, Southampton. We talked about it on the podcast. I think you've got the strongest chance in terms of defender, and probably got the keeper I wanted. So I think yeah, it's generally it's some good teams. But if anyone wants to give it a go, give it a go. Barry will post the teams on Facebook. I know we get quite a few people off the Facebook group listening to this and taking part. So sending your teams. If you think you can beat us, then take part. It's always good fun. And a big shout out to Guy who does it every week. Keep sending them in, Guy. You haven't had the best start to the season.
I can say not really his out, bless him.
Yeah, it's not gone so well for you so far, but you show us up sometimes, that's for sure. And as more and more information comes in, I know you like to go for some quite different players, and I enjoy seeing your team every week. So keep sending it in. Let's do game week fixtures, captains. Deadline 11:00 on Saturday, the 31st of August. Got the early kickoff being Arsenal against Brighton. Then it's Brentford, Southampton, Everton, Bournemouth, Ipswich, Fulham, Leicester, Aston Villa, Forest and Wolves, and then it's West Ham playing Man City at the evening kickoff. Then it is Chelsea against Crystal Palace, Newcastle, Spurs, and then the biggest game in English football, Man United against Liverpool. Captains, lads. Not the most straightforward of weeks. Where are your thoughts at the moment, Barry?
It's quite difficult to look past Haaland after he scored a hat-trick. But my vice captain at the moment is on Chris Wood. So yeah,
Oh,
exactly. I
it's
know.
on Chris Wood. Oh
Yeah.
my word! Here's the shout of the sea. Please, Captain Chris Wood.
No, but shocking. I would if I was doing quite like with you with the dizzy heights of being like in the top 15 or whatever it is in our pod league. Where I'm like in the dizzy the cauldron or 50th or something. So yeah, yeah, he's on my vice. So hopefully Haaland doesn't become sick, and then and then obviously I've got Wood as my captain. But why not? Wolves look really ropey in defence. Chris Wood is quite prolific striker when he gets a chance. So it's worth rolling dice if you've got gambling problems. So yeah.
What do you think, Scott? Are we
I'd
Palmer or are we Haaland?
Yeah, I can't look away from Chelsea after scoring 6 goals last week. Can't really, if you've got Palmer, if you bring Madueke in, I think Palmer's just a solid choice as the captain if you've got him, or you're bringing him in. Madueke is a bit more of a gamble. Slight rotation risk, slight. And he's done well, but he's not been as consistent a point grabber as Palmer over the course of the last sort of year or so. Yeah, I am a sucker for a home game as well. So I do really get drawn into home fixtures. As you can probably tell by my differential draft, they're all playing at home. So yeah, I think if I had Palmer, even with Haaland, my captain's Ironman would be on Palmer. But like Bal says, West Ham, they just scare me a little bit when it's like 5:30 away at West Ham. The Knights are drawing in, floodlights will be on. I don't know. I get this massive image in my head. But yeah, I mean, Haaland's going to be where majority of the captain shouts are. Don't like the early fixture, especially against the Brighton team that look quite good. And then you look at who's been poor this season. Ipswich, but you can't really take those 2 games. You're not really going to catch the Fulham defender. Everton have looked poor, but again, you've not got any Bournemouth assets to bring in. So the only other team that you might look at doing, if you've got an Mbuemo and a Vissa, that fixture around Southampton looks super tasty. So I don't think it's too much of a wild shout to be doing anything on Brentford because they've started pretty good this season.
Yeah, I love it. I do think I love all those shouts. To be honest, it's only the Chris Wood shout that's giving me giving me shivers, Barry. But other than that, I think they're all good shouts. What I will say is, and I know it sounds a little bit biased, so apologies, but I don't think Brighton were that good against us. We had loads of chances, and I know it's the early kickoff, but I wouldn't mind going with Saka or Havertz. I don't think Brighton are. And they've got away with 2 wins. They should never have had the win against us, I don't think, personally. But I don't think they look great at the back. So yeah, I wouldn't mind a shot on Saka as well. But Palmer's my captain when I transfer him in for Son, which I'm gonna do later because
That's
I've talked
the
myself
right
into
time
this.
to get Son out, isn't it? Yeah.
Sorry, pass. In terms of the final point on this is the AI transfers for the pod team, and these are the transfers that the podcast team are going to be doing this week. So we've got 2 free transfers, and I'm going with artificial intelligence to tell me what to do. And the artificial intelligence is telling me to sell Trent and buy Robertson. The predicted points are basically the same.
Wild.
It's a free up cash, isn't it?
It's to free up cash, and it's to free up cash to
He's injured.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say the same.
Sell Saka and buy Palmer. So that's what the AI is saying to do at this very moment in time. The sell Saka to buy Palmer. So yeah, fine, get that. But yeah, it's basically trying to free up cash. So selling Trent for somebody else that's got good bits of points.
I think this week has really told us that AI is good, but it's not really there. Top of the league last week. Where's the pod team now?
Down with me.
They got like 50-55 this week, so it's terrible compared to last
another
year.
another special shout out as well. What I will just say, another special shout out for someone that I think they came second in the league last year. Callum, what are you doing, lad? What an absolute stinker you're having here.
He's. I think he messaged me and he said, "Season starts this week. Thinks in a wildcat."
Also, since we're getting shout outs, Sam Danby Bailey give me a shout out and says, "Where's the AI team gone?"
Yeah, where has it gone? Well, this is the whole point of the experiment, lads. The whole point of the experiment. We will we'll see how it goes, and I'll refresh those transfers a little bit later in the week. So I think, like I say, if Robertson's not ready, I think we'll have to just take a quick look at that anyway. But we'll see what it says. It says what it tells us to do. And yeah, thank you very much for joining us this week, lads. Thank you ever so much for everyone who's listened. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to give us 5 stars wherever you get your podcast from, and also subscribe to there to get your little notifications when we post the podcast up. Don't forget to follow us on social media platforms: All in Football Pod, All in Football P, on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And also, Barry is contributing heavily in the Fantasy Premier League group on Facebook, so don't forget to check that out as well. Have I forgotten anything, Baz?
No, all good from me.
I know we haven't fit in the FPL challenge this week, but I think we'll post that on socials because we have gone on a bit.
It's hard this week as well, so yeah.
Oh, well, we'll post our teams on the socials. Keep an eye out for that one. Scott, thanks for joining us.
Cheers. Just to let you know I'm winning that as well. But anyway, yeah, carry on. I've got to work while I'm doing well. Anyway.
I don't blame you at all. I think I'd be doing the same. So from the self-proclaimed former FPL guru, thank you so much for joining us. And that's it for me this week. And goodbye for now.